What would be the effect on the British economy of leaving without a deal?
Well, it depends whether we've prepared for it properly. If we had prepared properly for it...
But at this stage, we know where we are
Well,
now.
it depends when we leave. My own personal preference would be to go back to Europe and say, we have a clear strategy, which is we want to leave without a deal, but we would like to take 6 months to complete the preparations to avoid the dislocation.
So a 6 month delay, in other words?
I think we'd have to take advice from the government and officials as to how long they now think it would take before our country is ready to leave without a deal.
Could you really do that in 6 months?
Well, it depends on how far the preparations have got, and the government hasn't been as explicit about that as they might. And what matters is that everyone in the country knows about it. We don't.
The last time I spoke to your successor, he told me that there were a very large number of companies that had actually done virtually nothing because they didn't know what they were meant to do.
No, I think that's very fair, and I think that is why people won't prepare until they know what the outcome is going to be. So I think we have to state clearly. So I would like to see us say that we will leave without a deal at a certain distance ahead, which would give the country time to make those preparations. And then I think we'll be in a much stronger position.
And if not, what's the effect on the economy going to be?
If we were to leave without making the preparations, well, there'll be some short-run dislocation cost. Yes, it's hard to know how serious that would be. I think the more wild, exaggerated view that somehow we're going to have queues of lorries on the M20 for 5 years or more is pretty absurd. We can't cope with that. I mean, heaven protect us from what the country is capable of doing. But there would be some short-run dislocation costs, which is why I favour a delay before we leave without a deal. But the important thing is that I don't believe that with adequate preparation or in the long term that the economic costs of leaving would be very different from staying in the European Union. The issue the issue should not be about economics. One of the sad things about this whole debate is that the country has been deeply divided. People are passionate about it on both sides. They're not passionate because they have views about the economic effects. I've never met anyone who said, I'd be in favour of Brexit if I thought the impact on GDP would be less than 2%, but I'll be in favour of Remain if I thought it was more than 5%. It's the issues of identity and culture and politics that are motivating people, which is why I think that MPs have rather somehow lost the plot, because when we hear people talk about the consequences of leaving without a deal as national suicide, I wonder sometimes if the political class hasn't suffered a collective nervous breakdown and lost confidence in the country.
That is interesting. So you, as an economist, you're former governor of the Bank of England, are saying that actually the effect on the economy, generally speaking, has been overstated. It's been a bit of a scare story.
It has been a scare story, and I think it's very unfortunate because there are arguments for staying in the European Union and there are arguments for leaving. But they're about politics. They're about, do we want to belong to this club? And one of the odd things about our debate is that you would think people would be debating what is going on in the European Union. Is it a club that we want to be a member of? Where is it going in the future? We've heard almost nothing about that. And of course, the European Union faces terrible challenges of its own, which is what it would like to concentrate on. All the major countries in the European Union, apart from ours, are in the monetary union. And it's the challenges of making the monetary union work that is the big headache for the European Union. They don't have any answers to it. The economic challenges have led to disaster in Greece. GDP in Italy is no higher today than it was 20 years ago when it joined the monetary union. These are disastrous outcomes for the monetary union. Do we really want to be in a club like that? Now, maybe some people who want to be in a federal Europe would like that. That's fair. It's a reasonable point of view. But that's what we should be debating, not exaggerating.
But would there be jobs lost, surely?
I don't think it's obvious there'd be jobs lost at all. If you look at what's happened since the referendum, and we were told there'd be a recession if we voted to leave, what's actually happened is that the British economy has grown since the referendum by slightly more, just a little more, than Germany. Now, the idea, therefore, that voting to leave has been an economic disaster doesn't match the facts. And if you look at the exchange rate of sterling, one of the extraordinary facts about it is that the average value of sterling against other currencies is exactly the same this week as it was the day I left the Bank of England in middle of 2013.
Mervyn King, Lord King, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
It's 16 minutes to 9. 2 years on from the decision which should have led to March 29th being Brexit Day.